Welcome to episode 8 of the NerdShredz Podcast. I am joined with KendricSwissh, the caster, the streamer. It's a good chat, guys, so hope you guys enjoy it. Cheers. Okay, guys, I'm joined here with Kendric. So how about you start off, Kendric, just by explaining to who's listening, who you are, and maybe give an insight to, what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's a really cool opportunity. I always enjoy being on podcasts because I'm a big podcaster myself. I listen to podcasts mostly while commuting, and just spending time in the train or in the car. But yeah, my name is Kendric, and I'm a Twitch streamer, full-time gaming personality, if you want to call it. I do casting, hosting, streaming, YouTubing, and everything else that comes with it.
Just a little bit. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, normally as well, just to start, say, get like the origin story, of like what games you played as a kid, what got you into games in the first place, things like that. Can you maybe take us a little bit through like the journeys of like different games you played when you were younger?
Oh man, dude, when I was younger.
What's the first game you remember playing? Like first one.
The first game that I remember playing actively is probably Settlers 2, which is a city builder strategy game. Really old school. Back in the 90s, I was invited over to a friend's place, and at that time, I didn't even know what gaming was. I didn't even know gaming existed. I was very innocent, but my friend, he was all into gaming, and his father was too. So I saw them in the basement just playing this game, and I was so fascinated by it because my parents, not gamers, my brother, not a gamer. So I grew up in this household of non-gamers, but then I was in this world, in this basement, kind of like a stereotype. And I saw these little men on the screen just building stuff and carrying stuff around and having some smaller conflicts. It was just so cool, and I was fascinated by it. I really absorbed everything like a sponge.
That's cool. So what games did that take? I mean, like, again, playing games in the basement is like, a bit of a cliche, but it's definitely like, it's always like a friend's dad or a friend's friend that just sort of kickstarts.
That's a cool thing. Like his dad was there too. Yeah.
So what games did you go on to from there? What like took you to like the games you play now?
Yeah. So I mainly stuck with RTS games and strategy games in general, city builders, back in the days when the genre was actually more popular and more famous than now. Yeah. You had games like Command & Conquer, Warcraft 1 and 2, Dune, all the classics, really. It was...
I got Dune. I haven't heard that in a long time.
Oh, yeah, man. Total Annihilation, I think, was another one. Like all these RTS goldies, So yeah, I played tons of those. And it kind of progressed when Warcraft 3 came out. That was probably my biggest turning point in gaming. That was for the first time where I also got in touch with eSports. Yeah. As a viewer, as a listener, because back then in Warcraft 3 at the beginning, I think it was 2002, 2001, eSports matches were actually broadcasted audio only, on as a podcast kind of. So that was really when I first touched base on that one. And then from Warcraft 3, the MOBA journey started. I was playing custom games in Warcraft 3. We all know that Dota came from there. Yeah, and I was fascinated by Dota. I loved it. I originally didn't even want to play it, but my friends kind of, they kind of pulled me in. And so, yeah, Dota, Warcraft 3. Then after Dota kind of, lost its stride and didn't really expand anymore, and games like League of Legends and Heroes of Newerth came up. Yeah, I kind of jumped on those. Then there was a MMO period in my life where I played all sorts of MMOs, but it always bounced back between MMOs and MOBAs, really, between these two genres then.
And when you're playing these games online, especially like when it first, became a competitive thing, how was your skill level? Were you quite high skill level playing these games, or?
So I always had this problem that my parents back in the days when I would say like between 12 and 16, like teenager age. My parents didn't really understand what gaming was, and they thought it was a waste of time, So I had these fixed hours where I wasn't allowed to play longer than 2 hours straight, and then I had to go outside or I had to go do homework and stuff like that. So my parents were kind of strict in that regard. So I could never take part in raids and WoW, for example, are there MMOs. I could never be part of the big stuff. So nevertheless, I would say my skill level was pretty good. And back in Warcraft 3, when I was, well, I think it was 15 or 16, I was actually playing fairly competitively, quite good. Won like local tournaments, smaller online cups. I was doing pretty well, to the point where I also became a manager for a team back then that had some pretty well-known players too. So, cool. Yeah, that was actually insane. It really in the baby steps of esports, you know. So that was really cool. And back then, the fun story is that now I'm kind of back with Warcraft 3, and I do a little bit of casting and a little bit of playing there. So I kind of went full circle, and people that I admired back then, they are kind of people I work with or I talk to now. So it's actually insane where the journey has taken me over the years.
That's cool. Yeah, because I've noticed recently you've been streaming a lot more of like Warcraft 3, obviously with Reforged coming out and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, just circling back there, you were saying like especially it's something that I think everyone chats about as well, talking about like their origins is like what their parents think of them playing games as they grow up. And it's definitely one thing now, especially like some of the people that are younger that I'm interviewing, when they talk about you know, they can physically point to like, you know, this person's made a lot of money playing a game, so I want to do that, you know. But I mean, like people I don't know that are slightly older, I mean I'm just about to hit 30, so like for me as a kid to say, don't get me wrong, my skill level was never good enough to do that, but to point and say, oh, I want to do that, it's, I don't know, now it seems a lot harder, it's a lot easier to, you know, physically point to something like that than, you know, it was then, you know.
Yeah, I remember back in the days when I played a lot of Warcraft 3 myself, and I was usually a 2v2 guy. So my friend and I, we lived in the same town, and we were kind of the only people in town, a smaller town, you know, in Germany, in the south of Germany. So smaller town, didn't really have many friends that were into gaming, not a big gaming community back then. So it was just the two of us, really. And man, we grinded out the 2v2 in Warcraft 3. And I remember in his basement, in his parents' basement, played a 2v2 game against two actual pros back then from Clan Okrana. That was the team back then. They were like, they don't exist anymore, but they were really good back then.
Back then, yeah.
And I remember one of the 2v2 team being Take, who some of you may know from, you know, Take TV and the bar that he has in Germany, the gaming bar.
Yep.
Kind of a big in Hurston and Starcraft 2. So he used to be a Warcraft 3 pro gamer back in the day. And he and his partner, I think his name was Kukian or something along those lines. Don't quote me on that. But we beat him in a ladder match. And dude, we were like 14 years old back then, and we were just celebrating so hard. You know, we cheered with our lemonade and just like falling down on the ground and just rolling around. It was dude, we were so hyped about that.
That's cool. I didn't actually realize that he used to be a pro player, because I watched quite a bit of Take TV. Again, the pro scene, Starcraft definitely, like I follow quite a lot of it. Did you ever play, you know, Starcraft when you're younger? I mean, it's not a massive leap from, you know, Warcraft to Starcraft. I think like original Starcraft sort of came out perfectly for me when I was younger, but I think original Warcraft was maybe like a bit too early for me.
Yeah, it came Brood War and normal Starcraft 2, Starcraft 1, sorry. They came out perfect time for me as well, but because I was so heavily invested into Warcraft 3, I never really got the chance to play it.
Pick up, yeah.
So that's probably one of the major gaming sins or gaming crimes that I still have to make amends for, which is like I never played Starcraft 1 campaign, and people keep telling me it's so good and it's so amazing. And even now with the remaster, Starcraft 1 remaster coming out, still haven't played it. So
yeah, it's out. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like even the second one as well. Like, I mean, I don't really remember much.
Second one I've played every campaign. Yeah.
Yes, I thought like the cinematics of that were, you know, some of the best ever. Like
so
they were
good.
just so good, man. So heavily invested in the characters. It's like a proper film, you know. But yeah, so like another thing that quite a lot of people like to know is, so how did you make that jump into, you know, getting into like casting these MOBAs and things like that, or even Warcraft? What was the jump you took from, you know, I'm playing games in my room, or to being like I'm actually casting in front of people?
So I hope that doesn't sound too cocky or anything, but I always felt like I had a talent in gaming. So when I played video games, I usually get the hang of it very quickly. And while I'm not a pro gamer by any means, I'm usually pretty good in most of the games that I play. So it really started all when I decided I wanted to take it, to the next level. I wanted to take it a little bit more seriously with Hearthstone when that one came out. Funny story, because I didn't want to be a pro gamer in that game, but I wanted to become a YouTuber about it because I loved the game and I enjoyed it. I watched a lot of Hearthstone YouTube content, and at some point, I was like, hey, why can't I do that? I want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I basically taught myself how to cut video, how to edit videos and all that stuff. So yeah, that one went pretty well because of one incident. I remember that like it was yesterday. I was at university back then, so I had a little bit more time, and I had a part-time job during university. So I was at work, night shifts. I was basically just a caretaker, kind of security guard at night. The guy who looks at all the monitors and sleeps when the burglars come in.
Great, yeah.
So, kind of that guy with 5 different monitors in front of him. So I remember at some point during that night shift, my phone just kept going crazy, like vibrating and like crazy, notification after notification. I was like, what the hell is going on there? And I saw that it was mostly YouTube notifications. And back then, I posted short YouTube clips about Hearthstone, like funny moments. Back when Trollden also did his video series, I kind of did something similar. So, and I saw that there was a comment in one of my videos by Total Biscuit.
Oh, that's cool.
Who just wrote something like, "Lol, too funny, mate," or something like that. I don't remember the exact message.
Yeah.
And because he commented on my video, that must have triggered some sort of algorithm or some sort of push with his own fan base. So people, they kept commenting and they kept watching the video, and it had 100K views at some point.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I was like, what the fuck? It's Total Biscuit, man. He commented on my video. What's happening? I never thought that would happen. So my YouTube channel kind of took off then. But that's all Hearthstone. But long story short, I transitioned from Hearthstone to Heroes of a Storm at some point with a somewhat decent following on YouTube, which was just so crazy to me, so surreal. And because of my Heroes videos then doing fairly decently as well, one day, Kalaris, who most of you probably know is an excellent host and a fantastic person, he approached me and he was like, hey, I like your videos, man. I like your voice. You want to do some Heroes events at some point? And I was like, whoa, is he really asking me for that? I'd never done any professional broadcasting or any professional commentating at that point. So I was like, yeah, sure. And that was Road to BlizzCon 2015. I was part of the broadcast there, nervous like crazy, with people like Grubby, Todd, and Kalaris on the venue too.
That's quite a big person stage, yeah.
That was crazy, man. I saw all these people in real life. I was like, what is happening? And I don't even know how I did. I never watched those videos because I was so nervous and I didn't want to see myself. I didn't want to watch myself. Someone told me I looked a little bit nervous, but it was all right. So yeah, that's the only thing I know of that.
Oh, that's cool. It's the thing though. I think a lot of people, I don't know if it's just the timing, but it does seem like it's quite difficult to break into that sort of thing. So people like to hear those stories of like, oh wow, it's actually possible to do that.
I was really lucky, and I'm still grateful to Kalaris that he basically gave me that chance, that opportunity. He was closer with ESL back then. I think he was in charge of kind of like spotting new talent, or maybe he was just recommending. I don't know, but without Kalaris, I think I wouldn't have taken that step, and I probably wouldn't be where I am today. So shout out to James, man.
Yeah, and that's cool though, because like even what he was saying, like a good sounding like voice. I mean, I'm quite bad for like, hopefully like bosses aren't listening here, but like listening to streams in the background, so I'm not even watching them while I'm doing work. So when people have like one of my good examples is like Day 9. I used to like listen to his voice because he's got like a good caster voice.
And his brother too, Tasteless, man. These guys are nuts.
It's just their actual voice is almost like soothing. So like you can listen to them chat about anything. Like he'll be playing games I don't care about in the slightest. And I'm just like, yeah, Day 9's pretty cool, man. It's just like it's that easy. But I didn't realize you'd done Hearthstone until recently, because I mean I've been watching a few of your streams on and off for a while, but just doing a bit of research before this, and not sound like a stalker, but going back to your to your videos on YouTube from a while ago, and it was about 5 years ago, and there was a few Hearthstone videos. I was like, oh, man,
for Hearthstone, you will have to dig really deep. Yeah,
that's cool though. But a shout out to Total Biscuit for getting you a little bit of recognition there. That's cool.
Yeah, shout outs to Total Biscuit. May his soul rest in peace, man. He was probably one of a kind. He was one of the best. Again,
another voice. It was like he was almost recognizable from anywhere. If you heard his voice, you're like, hey, that's Total Biscuit,
And especially the way he pronounced and stressed words, and the way he talked. Mm-hmm. He may not have had the greatest, most recognizable voice, but I think the way he talked was so special. Mm-hmm. What made him so special?
He once a while back, was it DreamHack we were going to? Excuse me, and flying from London, and I heard someone not shouting, but speaking quite loudly in the plane, and I was to my friend, I was like, I'm sure I recognized that voice from somewhere, and it was Total Biscuit. I was like, man, that's so cool. But
did you get a photo with him, or did you?
We did actually speak to him. I was like the total nerd dude sitting in the plane with a Team Dignitas hoodie. So he was like, "Oh, you going to DreamHack?" And he spoke to us, and I was just like, "Oh my god, Total Biscuit, he's chatting to us," and just had some guy with a camera just following him around. But he was casting Starcraft II stuff as well, so he was like, come give me a shout at some point, but I mean, you couldn't get near him in any of the stages, so
nice.
Yeah, but nah, it was really cool. Okay, so sorry, just getting back to you. So talking about the Warcraft 3 stuff that you're sort of streaming just now. So Reforged just came out, and again, it's probably you're aware, and I don't know I haven't actually heard your review of the game or what you think.
Yeah.
But obviously a lot of the stuff that's came out has been quite bad towards the game. How are you finding Warcraft 3?
Oh man, so Warcraft 3 is probably my most favorite game of all time. I don't think there's any game that I've spent as much time in, that I've enjoyed myself as much in. So to see this kind of recent discussion and people trashing the game, it really hurts me on the inside. It really touches something within me that I wasn't sure was going to be there. Mm-hmm. So I take this very dearly. And I think most of it is justified, and some of it is probably taken over the top. So as you guys probably all heard, Blizzard, they didn't keep their promise. They didn't put all the things into the game that they promised us they would. Some of the features are gone now. And what a lot of people took very personally, of course, as well, was the fact that they can no longer play Classic. So they kind of force you into now playing a worse product than the original.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the really bad thing about it. And I don't want to defend Blizzard. I've defended them many times in the past when others wouldn't. But there's really no excuse for Reforged. Don't get me wrong. They messed up a beautiful product. They ruined one of their greatest legacies. However, I don't want to be that guy who goes to Metacritics and writes a bad review about the game, and then even takes it one step further and writes good reviews for other bad games just so Reforged looks even worse.
Yeah.
And just so Blizzard looks even worse. So I think it has been blown out of proportion, man. And one also, I think, has to look at the context of why the product became so bad or so poor. And I think, just personally, if BlizzCon 2018, which was the worst BlizzCon of all time, which was the BlizzCon where they came up with a phone meme, don't you guys have phones? When Diablo Immortal came out and people were booing at the stage, they were like, boo, get out of here. This is not our Blizzard.
Yep.
I was live in action. I was live there.
Oh, were you actually there, were you?
Yeah, I was there, and I was in the middle of a crowd that just went nuts, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. What's happening? So, yeah, they just got upset, and rightfully so, because Blizzard messed up big time, not knowing what to announce and when to announce it and how to announce it. So I think what the higher-ups at Blizzard and the marketing people, what they wanted to do is they wanted to appease the people. They wanted to have some good press with all the Diablo shenanigans that were going down. Yeah. So I think they wanted Reforged to be this kind of beacon of light, that told people, hey, Blizzard is not that bad. We still have good stuff coming. So they announced this big Reforged remaster of Warcraft 3 that was actually more than just a remaster. It had new graphics and cinematics and epicness. And people were kind of cool, and then they probably wanted to top it off by saying, and it's coming next year.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh my God, Blizzard, amazing!" So I think they did it with that in mind, and that was the freaking craziest mistake. Like giving for an epic project such as this, for such a prestigious franchise, you don't give a release date. And that's probably what bit them now. They had to release it, and they didn't have enough time. They didn't have enough manpower, and that's why they were ultimately forced to release this garbage, this mess of a product that we have right now.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's the same way you're speaking about there. It's like, this is a game that was loved, and it's a classic for anybody that's like roughly my age. I'm like, this is just an amazing game. And for young people or younger people to pick it up for the first time and then have to deal with it's from a game that's, if you've never played it before, I think you can still be like, this is a great game, but yeah, it does feel like, I don't know, like Blizzard, especially again when they used to release games, they would just hold off and hold off and hold off, even if no one cared if they'd like delayed it a year. The game would come out and it would be fantastic. Whereas it now just feels like they're rushing to get stuff out again, like you say, to try and either cover bad press, to make revenue marks. I don't know why, but like it just feels like they're sort of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit sometimes,
Yeah. They should have never done that. They should have never given a release date. They should have released it when it's done, like you said. And they've always done it that way. And I think they're trying to get back into that now. Probably a little bit too late with all the damage that's been done. But for Diablo 4, for example, they are never going to announce a release date, I think.
I think that's probably smart. It does sound stupid. Like, I know when they used to release like a vague release date, and then people would be like, hey, it could be coming out this month. And then they go, yeah, we need another 6 months. And it would just build this anticipation that people be like, oh man, I'm so annoyed. And you're like, I can't wait for 6 months. It just builds it. But then the game would never disappoint. Like, you imagine if you waited like 2 years for Reforged in the state it's at now, you'd be like, what the hell is this? I've waited for...
And the thing is, people would have waited, the fans would have waited. Nobody was keen on having the game as fast as possible. And especially the old school fans, they were happy with the classic product already. So there would have been no pressure by the community to say, hey, Blizzard, please bring Reforged a little bit faster. And people they maybe wanted to get into the franchise in the first place, they wouldn't have minded because they weren't playing anyways. So for them, it would have been like, yeah, it can come out this year, but also next year. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just such a dumb marketing move, in my opinion. I can see what they're trying to go for, but it really just didn't pay off.
It didn't, no, not quite. Well, sticking to the Blizzard game. So again, like you say, you play quite a bit of HOTS as well. So whereabout are you with that just now? What do you think of like the current state of the game? Because again, obviously, like, since HGC is no longer a thing, not like that's new news, but again, having like players on the podcast and stuff as well, hearing how they were affected with the leagues being dropped and stuff was, some of it was actually heartbreaking. Hearing like how it was awful. But the current state of the game, how do you find it just now? I mean, I know you're still playing on and off. Do you still take it quite competitively, or?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I am a multi-time grandmaster at the game. Not that it really means anything these days, but back in the days, like 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, I think I had my first grandmaster rank, and since then I basically placed master every season. So I consider myself quite a knowledgeable person in the game, and a person that really, really cared about it. Like, I was casting it, I was making videos about it like crazy. I was streaming it basically full time at some point. So I really cared about the game, and I still think it's a beautiful game. And I'm really shocked to see like how hard it hits some of my colleagues or some of the other gaming personalities that I know. Like Tetcher, for example, I cast with HCC China, and we did a lot of stuff together. And he was more into casting or more focused on casting heroes than I was, who always did a little bit of streaming on the side and a little bit of YouTube on the side. But to see like how Tetcher was basically without a job overnight, the players, how they were kind of thrown into the water after that, it was just heartbreaking, man. And but to get back to your question, I think right now the game is in a fairly good state. Like if 1 year ago or 1.5 years ago, when the whole HEC breakdown happened, if you had asked me back then, like, what do you think Heroes viewership is going to be on Twitch in 1 year from now, or how do you think the game is going to do in 1 year from now? Like, truth be told, there's still a fairly stable viewership base on Twitch, right? The game has, on average, between 2 and 3K viewers, I would say.
It's been pretty stable. It hasn't lost any, I would say, at least,
It's crazy to say that, right? But yeah, so I think the game is doing pretty well, and I felt like ever since the whole HGC pressure has fallen off the developers, where they were kind of forced to make the game good, but also esports good.
Yeah.
I think they've been implementing some cool changes, like XP globes. I really like. Deathwing, probably a very controversial hero, but a fun hero nonetheless.
Yeah.
So I like these brave steps, they've been taking recently.
Yeah, it's definitely I think they've changed the dynamic a little bit, like you say, with the globes, with the likes of Deathwing. And I mean, for new people, I've seen a few people. I actually saw Jake GG tweet the other day saying that he'd came back to play a few games and he hadn't played since I think it was Kira's release, and he was saying I love Kira, the new heroes that have came in, it's good to see these changes are still coming in. But if anything, when I'm playing, the queue times in EU they've gone down. If not, I completely thought the same thing you were just saying there, whereas I thought the more I queue, more I play, this is just going to go down over time since HGC no longer exists, But it just feels like people are still playing the game. But and again, it's the same with Caldor's leagues that he casts as well. You'll still see 1,000, just over 1,000 people watching the other HOTS leagues. So I mean, there is still obviously a community here. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it develops or if it keeps going the way it's going. But they're still releasing balance patches every other month as well. So I mean, I'm surprised. I didn't think they would be. I thought it would have been a promise. They would have said, yeah, we'll keep releasing stuff, and then it just wouldn't.
Yeah, like you said, man, there's a lot of people who over the course of the last year, I would say maybe 1.5 years, they sort of came back to heroes, myself included. I really wanted to make a cut, at some point I was like, no more heroes for me, and I'm only going to play League of Legends now or Dota 2 or something like that. But after a couple of months, I noticed, hey, I'm actually missing the game, Not saying the other games are bad, but heroes just had this unique vibe to it, and I felt so at home when I played the game, I felt like a fish in the water. So yeah, I'm streaming the game once or twice per week, sometimes 3 times. And I still feel really good doing so, despite what other people say, because there's still, some funny people coming to your stream sometimes and be like, yo, you're still playing that dead game? And I'm like, well, okay.
that dad game meme, man. It's everywhere.
Yeah, oh my God. Technically, that game is probably more alive than your personality ever was. That's something I think to myself. So, and there's other people who are checking out the game as well. Like you said, Solid Jake, some other people that I played with earlier, on my friends list. I check my Battle.net friends list and I see names there that I've seen 2 or 3 years ago already. So it really has this loyal, really cool fan base that is probably going to last for years to come.
Yeah, I'm hoping it still does. I mean, I think just thinking back to when I first came across your content, I think it actually was YouTube videos of you explaining how to do something. I'm trying to remember what the video was, but yeah, it was I actually typed in I want to learn how to play this hero, and I think that's how I came across you originally. I was like, oh, this guy streams HOTS all the time, right?
Nice.
So but yeah,
he's also doing a lot of HOTS lately again. Probably the most iconic streamer that we ever had in the game.
Yeah. I mean, same with Grubby. I used to love watching his videos, but actually he'd do all these in-depth analysis of all the new heroes and stuff, and I don't know. I think it must have been somewhere connected between those two videos. But and it's the same. Grubby's now swapped over to doing a good bit of Warcraft 3, and he's now started coming back and playing HOTS too. So I mean, it's good to see they're not just, because I was the same with the pro players. I thought a lot of them, fan HOTS as well. All these pros that still play the game. I thought a lot of them would be up and trying to go pro in other games or pursuing different paths, but. Yeah, some of them are so entertaining to watch, man, so I can happily still sit and watch these streamers. But yeah, so coming away maybe a bit from, so you were saying just now, obviously you're streaming Warcraft 3, so where do you see your stream going? Do you want to just continue down the streaming and casting route, or do you have different goals you want to try and set for yourself in the future?
So for Warcraft 3, I basically want to have a really stable stream, I want to say, where I have a schedule, where I know where my strengths are, because and my weaknesses are, because right now I'm still trying to find those. I would have to relearn a lot of things or if I wanted to play competitively or somewhat well in the multiplayer aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So that is certainly something that I want to do. I want to get better at the game again. I want to maybe get to the level where I once was. And next to that, like you said, casting the game is really probably the biggest passion to me personally at the moment.
Okay, cool.
So if I get the chance to cast tournaments, or if I get the chance to cast show matches, that would be the dream come true, really. And I'm already blessed and very happy and grateful that I get to do stuff with Heroes Hearth on the Warcraft 3 front.
Yeah.
So we do the fight night. I get to cast that with Grubby of all people as well every 2 weeks, which is an insane honor. And I'm so happy that we pull the show off together. And it's been really a long journey now. I think in a couple of weeks or months from now, we're going to have the 1-year anniversary.
Oh, wow. It's actually
we've been casting these show matches together, and it has felt like a very, very smooth ride. Really cool.
It's cool because I do like, again, the fight night stuff as well. And even when Grubby chats about himself playing Warcraft 3, I think that's why I'll gravitate towards yourself. And like Grubby is, you're very good at chatting and explaining what you're doing while the
very
game's going on,
eloquent.
which obviously must just be from like your casting background and stuff. But it's such an underrated skill, like being able to play a game and try explain at the same time. It sounds really stupid, but honestly, until I actually tried it, I was like, am I actually making sense? And then I'm like, am I actually playing the game properly? Like,
That happens to me all the time. At some point, while I'm playing, while I'm streaming, and I'm trying to be, I'm trying to sound educational. I'm trying to be somewhat educational or helpful to people watching. I'm like, oh my God, did I just repeat myself? Did I just say that? Did I just miss something? What the hell is even going on? So it's so hard. People may not think it's hard because they're sitting in their comfortable chairs and watching a video, easy peasy, that's been polished and edited and whatnot. So it's super hard. And the times where on YouTube, at least, people have to redo the video, or they have to record several things because something hadn't worked out or something in the game didn't go as they wanted to. It's crazy. Twitch, of course, even you have additional factors coming into play. You have like notifications, you have chat that you need to watch at the same time. It's not just you doing a monologue, it's actually you doing an interactive conversation while explaining, while playing. It's crazy multitasking, dude.
I know. I think it's definitely, like I say, underrated, I think. But it just ends up, if you ever play games off stream, I think you then realize like, wow, I can actually give this like full attention, man.
You're so much better. No pressure. You don't have to talk. Like when there's such a difference when I play off stream in Heroes, in the ladder, for example, or Warcraft 3, whatever have you. I'm so much more focused. I'm so much better. I'm such a different person actually as a player. You wouldn't believe it, man. I'm pretty sure you feel the same way.
Oh yeah, and probably like a bit more angry as well. I feel like my true self comes out a bit more when I'm off stream, but yeah. Sorry to just like completely jump topic. Like I said at the start before we started streaming, there's a little bit of a fitness aspect to my stream. So like just from like day to day, is there anything you do to keep fit? Again, like exercise wise, food wise.
So that is something that I'm currently trying to work on very hard because, you have this trend in eSports and in gaming in general right now where people are really starting to realize how important it is to have a healthy body next to a healthy mind, when it comes to gaming, and people are actually being able to play better, to have better results when their body is doing well as well.
Yeah.
So, you have physical activities, you have coaches in pro teams and organizations. It's crazy. So I'm fully aware of that, and I actually used to be a very regular gym visitor or frequenter. Yeah, so
gym goer. Yep.
Gym goer, exactly. Oh man. So I'm trying to get back into that groove and into that rhythm, but you know how it is, right? Procrastinating, laziness, and all that gets in the way, and being too comfortable and being too lazy. So I'm trying to sort of reforge myself.
Give yourself a kick. Yeah, give yourself a kick. Yeah. That's it. But yeah, it's interesting because like I think especially the pro teams, like even explaining it to some of my friends like who maybe aren't massive gamers about these pro guys, they're on a team. They have like set bedtimes. They'll have like especially like the Korean Starcraft rules. I remember someone said it on Reddit a while ago. and it was like I can't remember which team it was, but it was GSL League anyway, and someone had posted like how much exercise they had to have every day. They had everything down to like their meals, like all prep.
Holy shit.
And I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, that's crazy. But any other sport, you're thinking like American football, soccer, whatever it is, like that's gonna happen. Maybe not so much the meals, but like you will actually have like a set regime and you have to stick to it, sort of thing, And I'm saying
you have to give up a lot of freedom because your life is determined by a lot of external factors, right? Coaches, training, exercise, and all that stuff. So you just can't plan your life as freely as you could before.
Yeah, definitely not. And it's, I think as well, like when you look at these pro players, it's like the difference it would make. I think there's a stigma attached to the games so much that they think it's still like this guy, like going back to you as a kid and you're at your friend's house with his dad, you're in the basement, you're playing games. Like that's not a thing anymore, man. Like these are athletes, like I know it sounds ridiculous to call pro gamers athletes, but essentially like that's what they are. They're like gaming 14 hours a day.
That's what they are, man.
Look after themselves. So
they have duties, they have commitments, and they have a fixed routine. So they are basically doing exactly what traditional sports athletes are doing, just maybe in a different way, because esports is not traditional sports, but the core essence, I would say, is the same. People trying to be the best at what they do and trying to work the hardest they can to achieve exactly that goal. And whether you have a soccer player or you have a League of Legends player, they're both in their respective fields trying to achieve exactly that.
Yeah. And there's one thing that I think it was a couple of months ago. It was on a podcast somewhere I heard it. I think it could have been Tasteless's podcast, actually. He mentioned
great
that,
stuff, by the way. Shout outs to Tasteless, man. This guy,
amazing.
Nailing it.
Literally, like same as you, I'll literally sit to him, listen to podcasts in traffic all the time. And basically, if I'm not stuck in traffic and Tasteless voice is in the background, like something's wrong. But he said something that was, it was like a basketball, American football, and baseball, and it was people under the age of 20. So like take all three of those sports combined, people under the age of 20, more people are watching eSports than all three of those sports combined. I think under 20 is obviously quite young, but I mean these kids have to grow up, and like they're not going to grow up watching something they haven't been watching as a kid, really, or unlikely, So it's interesting to see, like, you look 10 years in the future, like how these sports are going to keep up and how esports is going to take over, so
and I'm super interested in following the development of like how esports is going to stick with people when they get older, not just the 18 to 20 year olds or 25 year olds, but as people like you and me, they hit their 30s, they hit their 40s and 50s and 60s even. And if that's going to be something they stick with, because speaking personally for myself, I know that I'm definitely going to be watching esports when I'm 50 and it's still around.
Oh yeah, that's it. Like it's like the joke of I've seen a few of the memes of like the granddad playing video games, but fine, that's going to happen, man. There's going to be these old folks' homes that are going to be kitted out with the newest PCs, and
hey, maybe there's going to be certain games in the future that are just catered towards the older generation or the elderly people, even. Who knows? Back in all those years. We're back up in all those years. We're going to have our own esports that the young people don't give a flying fart about, but we're having the best time at it. Maybe we're still watching our RTS games, and the younger people in 10 years from now, they're going to be in a whole different game. We're
going to be sitting with the VR headsets at BlizzCon 2014 watching the finals. It's going to be like that's how I see it, but who knows. That's that'd be good to think about, man.
Do you think esports is going to stick around for quote unquote older people as well as they grow up?
Oh yeah, I feel the thing is as well, like one of the things that one of my mates used to mention to me all the time is like how pro gamers retire really young, and how like when that's it, we're 27 and we've got to retire. And like people always say like, oh, your reaction times are a lot slower as you get older. But like if you actually look at, this is super nerdy, but if you actually look at like proper research on like when you get older and your reaction times, they're not as big a difference as you'd actually think. And people will say,
glad you say that, because I don't feel different at all, man. I feel like 18, dude.
It's like a lot of sports, like you see people get in their prime and they're like, mid 30s because they're a lot wiser than when they were a kid.
Right.
And then I think when you just see like people blame age on stuff like that, I think it's more people just their life changes and then they come out of games or their priorities change, you know. So,
Right.
but I still feel that, you know, esports is going to be this thing that, I mean, I'm the exception, but I will never. Starcraft is still a thing, or HOTS, or I mean streamers, man. Like it's rare that if I'm not watching Netflix or Twitch, like I don't watch TV or anything, you know.
Yeah.
These things I feel like they're gonna struggle to exist, you know.
Yeah, man.
So
If they don't adapt and if they don't change their broadcasting schedule, I don't think any of the younger generations between 15 and 35 maybe, you know, they're not going to watch TV and that normal stuff that no one's really interested in. I don't want to watch another Jungle Camp or another supermodel show or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I can't remember the last time I watched like a proper TV advert, you know, like it's literally just like if I'm fortunate enough that I'm watching a video that has an advert online, that's it, you know. So, but
TV commercial has become so bad. I usually get to spend a little bit of time in the real world, quote unquote, when I'm at my girlfriend's place because she's not a gamer at all. So she's quote unquote a normie. So when we watch television together,
she's a muggle.
She's a muggle. So I get all these impressions when we watch TV together, and I'm like, man, dude, what has happened? It's gotten even worse than when I stopped, you know, and I already thought it couldn't get worse when I stopped.
That's yeah. I remember like when you used to see these adverts and people, there'd be some good ones you'd YouTube or whatever, but it'd just be dreadful, you know, like yeah. Anyway, we digress anyway. But so what esports do you actually watch? Do you actually consume quite a lot of other esports, or is it mostly just like what you play, you watch?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I watch all sorts of esports. Theoretically speaking, like I'm very curious. Sometimes I check out mobile games, even like I check out phone games, you know, like I checked out Vainglory in the past because I wanted to get a feeling of what that one looked like. Watching a little bit of PUBG every now and then, Arena of Valor, like all that stuff, which is very fascinating because it's just a whole different thing, you know, people holding phones instead of a keyboard and a mouse. So that's something I've been trying to follow a little bit more. But aside from, or in the more classical field, obviously Warcraft 3, I try to soak up everything I can find there. League of Legends, I'm still following because I played the game quite extensively myself before Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Trying to get into Dota 2 a little bit more because that's one of the major disciplines I would say that I haven't really had time to follow yet. So I'm definitely trying to follow that one a little bit more this year. Aside from that, man, Starcraft 2 I find highly fascinating because I've never played the game competitively in multiplayer, so I don't even know what the heck is going on from a player's point of view. But because I've watched so much, I actually understand perfectly well what the players are doing. You know that feeling? So well, that feels really cool.
I'd play it, but not. I mean, even saying playing it competitively is probably a big stretch. But I mean, I have no idea what's going on like, compared to a professional level. So it's even more entertaining knowing that you see these professional players play at that level. You're just like just blown away. You know, it's just crazy.
And I'm just in awe every time I watch StarCraft 2 because up to this point, I think RTS are still the hardest genre by far. They demand the genre demands so much from the players, you know, reaction speed, decision making, multitasking. It's just crazy.
It's like one of the ways that it was a Day 9 described it was perfect. It was like, imagine playing multi-dimensional chess but never stops moving. Like the board consistently changes. I'm like, that's a really good way to describe it, and that's probably why I'm so bad at it. But yeah, I do get it.
Yeah, compared to the more thought-heavy sports in real life, you know, when you compare it to chess, like you said, in chess you can take your time to think about a turn. In StarCraft, you don't have that, man. If you take too long to react and make a counter to what your opponent's doing, you're out, man. You're gone.
It's MicroChess. That's what it is.
Yeah. Chess on speed.
Yeah. Even then, it's like I watched Tasteosis like describe games, and they just mention stuff. I'm like, how did you see that? You know, it's just like it's just absolutely crazy. But I mean, I guess that's what happens when you watch like 50 games a day. So you pick up stuff like that. So yeah, finally, Kendric, if you're actually up for it, we have a call it the quickfire question round. I probably should rename it because every time I say it, the person I'm asking the questions to thinks they need to answer it really quick, but you don't have to. You can take your time to answer the questions. It's just the fact that they're not related to each other in any way. So
shoot it right at me, bro.
You up for it? All right, okay, cool. So what's the worst video game you've ever played?
Ooh, the worst video game I've ever played. A movie came straight up to my mind. Video game wise, oh, let me think, man. A really bad one.
What's the movie? What's the worst movie?
Dude, the worst movie I ever watched?
Yeah, you got me interested.
I think, I'm not sure about the English title. I know the German title, but I think it's universal. Was Cosmopolis.
Okay.
And Robert Pattinson was in it. You know, the guy from Twilight.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think
the ladies' man.
I'm just googling
and
it. I'll put it up on the screen on YouTube. But
Cosmopolis. It was so weird. I was watching it with friends of mine, and we were in shock. You know, we couldn't believe what we were watching. There was a dude in a car, super rich, kind of an asshole, and he was banging a girl in the car, and he was on drugs, and he had some sort of surgery in the car. I don't know what was going on, and
this sounds great. That's funny.
Cosmopolis, the worst shit I've ever watched in cinema, at least. So video games, what was really bad? I guess. So people probably will crucify me for this, but I remember back in the days when I was younger, I tried to play the original Prince of Persia.
Oh.
The original one.
Yeah.
And from a personal experience, to me, it was terrible because I couldn't figure out the controls. I was so bad, and I couldn't make it past the first couple opponents. I remember that. So I gave up on the game, and I cursed it, and I said, this is bullcrap. Probably because of me being a noob back in the days and not knowing what the heck I was supposed to do. But so I'll go with this. I'll say Prince of Persia, the original, because I was too dumb to play it.
When did it come out? So look, 1989. Holy shit! So
yeah.
I actually remember seeing a clip. Like it was one of those Facebook videos of like Prince of Persia through the years, and it just like goes all the way through to like what it looks like now. I remember seeing the original one. I'm like, when was that? That's so old. But wow, 1989. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's cool. Next question. Oh yeah. So who's your favorite streamer?
My favorite streamer is Dance Gaming.
Oh, cool.
Because I have a lot of streamers that I really, really like, and it's hard to choose one. But the reason why I say Dance Gaming is because whenever he's online, I always tune into his stream because he just has this personality that I find utterly hilarious to follow. Like he's such a cool dude, so outgoing, so funny in his very own way. And honestly, I think his chat experience is probably the coolest. Like his emojis. The people inside, everything just feels so wholesome. So I'm going to say Dance Gaming.
So you consume quite a lot of streamers, yeah?
Yes, I do. Mostly as a lurker because I don't have the time usually to commit and, get involved in chat. But I have him on the second monitor. I have him sometimes on the big screen in my living room. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Favorite fast food?
Favorite fast food? Although we don't have it in Germany, I wish they were there. It's Panda Express.
Panda Express, oh my god, amazing.
So good.
Favorite HOTS character?
Varian, without a doubt. He's my man, he's my boy, he's my man crush, and I will always stick with him and the Alliance.
And is that like the character, or is that actually you like how he plays in HOTS?
Both.
Both.
I'm probably, and I will say this, and I will fight over this title, one of the 10 best Varian players in Europe.
Whew.
And yeah, I will say that.
That's fighting words.
Yeah.
I'd say like I think honestly Twin Blades Varian has to be up there with my most hated characters. I honestly I know he's not even.
It's because people don't know how to play it, man. It's all about the play style. People who fail at Twin Blade Varian, they just play it like a normal melee assassin or a normal bruiser. You know, you have to know exactly where you come from which angle you're going to strike at the opponent, and trust me, it's actually pretty good.
I think it's more like I hate playing against him because I'm always picking it'll always be like a counter pick to most of the heroes I play. So I'm always just like, what's up? Twin Blaze fucking Varian again.
Yeah. Once he's level 7, you can't beat him in lane anymore. No hero beats him.
Yeah, he's just like an unbelievable 1v1 hero, yeah. Sorry. Favorite subject in school?
Probably English.
English? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Any new game release that you're looking forward to?
Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, Cyberpunk looks good, man. There's a lot
Call me a mainstream fanboy, but that game, I have trust in CD Projekt Red to make it great. And that game, when that comes out and that lands on my hard drive, I'm going to close every door, every window. I'm going to pull up the blinds. I'm going to make myself a living mummy, and I'm going to play that game.
That's cool.
Absorb it into my body.
Where does your username come from?
So I always call my RPG characters, whether it's video game characters or pen and paper characters, I always call them Kendric, because I'm a guy that likes knights and shiny armor and paladins with holy light. So that's my jam.
Oh, that's good.
And I thought Kendric was kind of like a cool name. You know, it sounded kind of noble.
Yeah.
So that was the name that I always chose. And then I actually like to be referred to as Kendric these days, but back in Heroes, or some people still call me KendricSwissh, which is my original nickname. Yeah. So the second part, the Swish, came from when I created my nickname for HOTS, Kendric. I thought I would have to add something to make it look more, or to make it sound more special. And I was listening to a rap song called Swish.
You're like,
and I was like, okay, whatever. Yeah, let's put those two together, and there we go.
That's actually one of the better questions I actually get to ask is like, where's your username come from? And the last one we did was with Casanova, and we asked him where his came from, and I was like, oh, that's a great username. Like, this has got to have a great story.
Yeah.
And it ended up just being like his middle name. I was like, all right.
Oh my god.
Like, oh, okay. That's total boner killer, but okay. But yeah.
Gotta give props to the parents though for choosing that middle name.
No, that's a brave name. You've got a lot of expectations there, man. Most overpowered character you've ever seen in any game at any given point?
Okay, that one is so easy to answer. League of Legends, back in the days when Jin Zhao was released, you know, the Chinese spear-wielding killing machine, you know, when that guy came out, it was broken.
Yeah, I used to play it when he came out.
Oh, yeah, you remember that, right?
Overpowered, man. His spear used to just wreck you, and then he would like... His spear knockback would just do so much damage to people, man.
1 versus 2, no problem. 1 versus 3 even sometimes, no problem.
You'd be like, oh, I've got him. And he's like, oh, he's knocked me up. Oh, he's knocked me back. Oh, I'm dead. Man, that's quite a good one, actually. You didn't even have to think twice about that, dude.
Yeah, that has burned itself inside my memory, man.
Okay, last question. Okay, I'm going to change it a little bit because it's yours. So I know you're into RTSs and MOBAs. So if you weren't going to play a MOBA or an RTS, what would you play?
If I wasn't going to play RTS or MOBAs, if I had all the time in the world and no obligations and enough money to sustain that lifestyle, I would probably bunker myself in and just play WoW the entire time. Yeah, just play World of Warcraft, man.
On MMOs. Nice, dude.
Yeah.
So you properly...
Get myself lost in Azeroth and catch up to all the things that I could never do when I was younger because my parents wouldn't let me. So I would probably just relive all the classic raids, all the Burning Crusade raids and Wrath of Lich King raids.
Yeah, I feel your pain with, like, I'll go one step further. My parents would, like, I used to love MOBAs when I was younger. MMOs when I was younger. Yeah. But my parents, again, you'd have a curfew for the computer, but also World of Warcraft I was never allowed to play like a subscription game. It had to be so like it had to be like a game that I could buy like one off. So I
never told my parents that I had to pay money for
monthly.
That game.
So I was bound to play Guild Wars. That was it. It was like because I could pay for it one off. That was fine, but £7 or £8 a month was just that was unacceptable for a game. So
dude, I honestly think Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2 are some of the most underrated games of all time.
I loved the first one, like absolutely loved it. The amount of hours I spent in that's probably the equivalent of most people playing WoW. But the second one, I hated it, man. I just did not like it. I was so upset by it when it came out. I was a little bit salty.
Fair enough, man. I think with the second one, I just didn't feel as enchanted anymore. But in the first one, I remember that playing with a couple of friends, and I didn't really have any expectations for it. But I was so fascinated by that game. It was so intimidating, because it had that crazy PvP aspect about it.
Yeah, I mean that's mostly why I liked it. If I could play a game and go online and kill my friends at it when I was a kid, that was the best thing. When PvP, when I became a parent that I could go online and kill people, I was like, this is the best thing that's ever been created.
Yeah. And there were so many cool things about Guild Wars. Like I remember, it might sound like a small unimportant detail, but the fact that you had these different levels of healing and debuffs, with the arrows indicating, like you had 1 arrows, 2 arrows, 3 arrows, showing like how fast you were healing or how fast your poison was ticking.
Your regen, yeah, that's right.
That just excited the crap out of me. It was so fascinating, that game. And the soundtrack was beautiful too.
Yeah, it was. Well, that was the thing as well. Like one thing I loved about it was, for me, again, I actually liked playing WoW whenever I got a shot on like my friends' PCs, but it was graphically, when it first came out, it looked amazing.
Boy,
whereas
it was
WoW,
so good.
WoW to me still seemed really cartoony. And although, they've obviously upgraded graphics since then, but I still just remember being like, Guild Wars, it looks good. Like convincing myself that, I've chosen the right game here. Yeah, it looks really good. It looks good. It's the better game.
I'm actually pulling up screenshots of Guild Wars 1 up right now, and damn, that game.
And I remember getting into like arguments with friends at school who would play WoW, and they'd be like, yeah, but can you jump, man? Can you jump? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Nah, you can't jump, man. So just get so infuriated. Thanks, man. But yeah, definitely. Well, so just finally to finish off, that was all the quickfire questions. But I like to just finish the whole stream off just by giving a little something back. So if for anyone listening, if they're wanting to say pursue a career in esports or maybe follow in like your sort of footsteps, what kind of advice would you give somebody that's wanting to do the same thing?
If you really want to make it, quote unquote, I mean, I don't consider myself someone who's made it because I've never been part of, the upper top tier echelons of casters and probably will never be.
So humble, he's famous.
yeah, but if you let's say if you want to be recognized or if you want to have some success in what you do, in gaming, in esports, I think it's really just finding your own style and being very honest to yourself, because I know there's a lot of things I can't do as well as others, and I know there's a lot of things I probably will never be able to do as well as others, but I also know what I'm good at. And I think oftentimes people just want to be something that they think others like, or sometimes they just want to be like someone else rather than trying to become themselves, trying to become that one unique, outstanding persona. So I would like to give the advice that just be honest to yourselves and try to assess, your strengths and weaknesses and work around that and try to make videos or try to cast in a way that it suits you rather than you trying to brute force your way in.
Yeah, I think that's quite good advice. I mean, you often see like people that will almost take on like a persona of themselves, like you, or they'll try and like copy like well, this seems to work for that streamer, so I'll
you
try
have
and
to
do
be a
something.
really good actor, man. You have to be really convincing if you manage to pull that off. Like, obviously, everyone is a little bit different on camera. Everyone is a little bit different on cast. But if you're trying to come up with an act, with a real persona that has nothing to do with you, with your real you have to be damn good at that. And I don't think many people can pull that off without the viewers and the audience be like, yo, this guy's fake as hell.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing when people say like, oh, this person's so fake. I'm like, well, if he's doing it 24/7, I physically don't know how they can do it. I'm mentally just trying to play the game and speak to you guys at the same time. You throw in me pretending to do something that's too much brain power, man. But it gives me more respect for like people like DrDisrespect. I know he's playing a character, but even then, like, I feel like he has to be on all the time. Like,
yes.
I mean, I'm sure he switches off.
And he's actually, I think, one of the few people who does it so well and so entertainingly that like people can easily tell. Even I think if you're so far away from reality that people can tell there's no way this can be real. Yeah. Then I think that's fine and that's actually super entertaining. But when you're getting caught up in between, where people can tell, is he real? Is he really like that, or is he just pulling off a character? That's when it gets dangerous, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people as well, especially because there's a lot of younger people that seem to be like starting to stream, because it's just obviously what everyone wants to do. Everyone wants to be like Ninja and be like a streamer,
right?
But I think it's almost comes to like a fear of people, like if I put my real self out here and people don't like it, that's the world rejecting me because no one wants to. When in reality, that's just how are you going to get yourself seen? And it's not really like a true reflection sort of thing. So I think it can be quite hard to take if you're like, well, even if you're not young, that's probably not easy. But yeah.
And also one final piece of advice: get yourself a good microphone and some good gear to record. You wouldn't believe how much of a difference that makes.
Oh, definitely. Like the amount of times you'll flip onto like a stream and it's just like good quality cam, and then you can't hear what they're saying, and you're not going to stick around.
I know, man. The first first good microphone that I bought, quote unquote, I still have like the top of the top, but the first good microphone that I bought was around $90. And I was like, oh man, am I really just buying a microphone for $90? And there's microphones for 200 or more bucks even. So what the hell is going on in my life? But I never regretted it. And a good microphone, good camera, that's basically the most important thing I would say to any stream.
I had the same sort of like brain process where I was like, I spent obviously a lot on every PC I've had. I've spent a good bit of money on because I know that I'll play it non-stop. And I was like, man, I might spend like £100 on a mic. It's quite a lot of money. This obviously a few years ago. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I just spent like X amount on a PC, and I'm worried about how much I'm spending on a mic. You know, like I'm like, yeah, I need to get my priorities right. Computing stuff comes first. So, but yeah, I think good gear is definitely a good tip, man. Well, anyway, thanks very much for being on the show, dude. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate that.
Do you also want to like plug your socials and stuff? Like, where can people find you? I will obviously link all your information below on YouTube, but yeah, if there's anywhere else or any other projects or something you want to mention, you can jump that in now.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much for having me on the show. It was a blast. It's usually me who does the questioning and the asking and stuff. So it felt really cool to be on the other side of the stick.
That's cool.
So yeah, so if you want to find out or if you want to find more about me, then you basically just look for KendricSwissh on Twitter. That's usually where I post most of my stuff. On YouTube, I am doing a lot of Warcraft 3 stuff with Grubby. So if you look for Heroes Hearth, Warcraft 3, the fight night that we're doing there, you can definitely find some high quality, hopefully high quality Warcraft 3 casting and entertainment.
Definitely.
So
high
check
quality.
that out. And on Twitch, of course, you want to catch me live. I play a lot of Heroes. I play a lot of Warcraft 3. And every now and then I just do some variety. I just play what I want on Sunday. For example, every Sunday we do Variety Sunday. That's twitch.tv/KendricSwissh.
Cool. Thanks for listening, guys. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like and subscribe. It really helps me and the channel out a lot. And it also keeps you up to date with all the new guests too. Cheers. See ya.